Hello, good evening. Tonight, HS2. Will it turn out to be an expensive mistake? Lord Mandelson reckons it's heading that way. The cost of the link from London to the Midlands and beyond has spiralled to £42 billion. Time to call a halt? Well, in a moment we'll get the views of our panel of Midlands MPs, and we're joined on the line by a man who's dedicated the last 3 years to stopping the project. But first, a reminder of the latest developments from our correspondent, Alison Mackenzie.
Is HS2 essential to regenerate the Midlands economy, or is it simply no longer viable in a time of recession and with so many communities along the route claiming they'll be adversely affected? As the sudden jump in costs was announced, senior transport officials had the unenviable task of explaining to Margaret Hodge on the Public Accounts Committee.
So in 3 not quite annual assessments, before there's been a spade in the ground, all the costs are moving in the wrong direction. Is that correct? Costs are going up, benefits are going down.
So the costs of the project are dependent on the scope. And we have been doing, HS2 Limited has been doing... Is it just true or not true that over the period the costs have gone up and the benefits have gone down? The predicted costs are up and the predicted benefits are down. I'm not disagreeing with the figures in Figure 5. I'm trying to provide some explanation.
Surely not time to call it a day. We checked out opinion in Derby.
I think it's a good idea. Proper good idea.
I don't think it's geared to help people up in our area. I think it's geared more to help people down in London.
What won't be quick will be its implementation. To the suggestion that a hybrid bill for HS2 will be given royal assent by 2015, the response from Margaret Hodge...
It's a complete madness. Don't you understand that?
Well, Joe Rukin, the founder of the Stop HS2 campaign, joins us from our newsroom in Birmingham. Welcome to you, Joe. And in the studio here, our panel of Midlands MPs, Conservative Heather Wheeler, John Hemming from the Liberal Democrats and Labour's Jack Dromey. Let's kick off with you, Joe, if I can. Just outline for us, if you would, in your view, the case against HS2.
Well, the problem is with HS2 that a decision was made to go ahead with this without any real assessment of whether it was needed. Consequently, all the arguments have been bolted on afterwards, and that's why none of them fit. You can't find an economist who's for it. Environmentally, this is massively damaging, and the thing that's really telling now are the number of rail experts who are coming out against this project. Now, Tony Collins, the chief exec of Virgin Trains, said it was a vanity project. Adam Mills, who was in charge of Eurostar when it was first set up, has said that he inherited similar figures that you just saw the Public Accounts Committee tear apart with HS1 when that was built, and he spent 2 years defending the indefensible, in his own words, and he said that the whole thing is away with the fairies. And there are so many rail experts now saying you can deliver the capacity much cheaper, much quicker, and of course benefiting far more people by investing in the existing infrastructure.
Okay,
the problem is you've got a political class who's for it.
Okay, I'm going to pause you there, Joe. Let me put some of those points to our panel. Kick off with you, Heather. The case for it is collapsing.
No, I don't agree. Clearly, we do need to have a very, very good economic package that comes with this, because it isn't just what happens with HS2. It's the regeneration around where the new stations are going to be. That is what is going to be so important to our East Midlands part of it.
But what about the cost, John? You know, £40-odd billion, and according to Boris, the London mayor, that's an underestimate. He reckons £70 billion.
Well, obviously,
I mean, biggest white elephant we've ever had, according to him.
Well, you can't have a blank cheque, obviously. There comes a point at which you would say that's too expensive. But I think that the crucial point is actually one of how do we have an extra line? How do we join up with the high-speed one, with the European network, so we can use trains in the future in large numbers and quickly?
Now.
No, in large numbers.
Good service to them.
I said in large numbers. Capacity is good service now.
Yeah.
It's not actually the speed of the journey between London and Birmingham. It's actually that it's part of a network, and that's part of an overall process. It's a process that creates capacity throughout the network.
But in these economic times, Jack, can we really justify spending, according to Boris again, the London mayor, £1 billion on planning consultants and lawyers before even a sod is turned anywhere in the countryside, before the work even begins?
Britain can't succeed through London and the South East alone. What we need is world-class infrastructure, the kind of which we haven't got and successive governments have ducked acting on, world-class infrastructure, including good transport links, to ensure that Birmingham, the Midlands and the north of England grow and grow economically. I think high-speed rail is essential to that. I think the second point is that if you're planning ahead, within 5 to 10 years, we're going to be at saturation point in terms of the existing rail network. And the third thing I'd say is, in terms of the economic benefits, it's not just the wider economic benefits of regional growth. It's also what happens in terms of the construction and indeed the maintenance phase. Give you one example from Birmingham. Last Friday, we had a marvellous jobs fair that I organised together with Liam Byrne and Shabana Mahmood for thousands of young people in northeast Birmingham. And right opposite Birmingham Met, where we had it, is this building that's going to be knocked down and a new building put up, and it's going to be an apprentice training centre, and it will train over a period of 10 to 20 years 5,000 plus apprentices. Huge lasting benefit for the people of Birmingham.
Okay, let me put some of those points to Joe. It's important that we're part of this network. It will create, I mean, some are saying hundreds of thousands of jobs. You can't ignore that, can you?
Well, the fact of the matter is that what we get from the politicians is pure rhetoric. You're saying that
no, those are
it'll
facts,
develop
Joe.
the region. Well, no, they're not the facts. That's the problem, that you've got rhetoric. All the evidence says that what will happen is exactly the opposite. That the HS2 will it won't develop the regions. It will suck more economic activity to London, to the capital. You look at the international comparisons. Look at France. Look at Spain. That's what's happened. That Seville has had high-speed rail for 20 years. You go to the Expo set up to promote Seville, it's chained up. Andalusia, the region, is still got the worst unemployment in the whole of Spain. It's done nothing for the areas, and it is just about getting more and more people to London. And there may be some very limited benefits in massive shopping centres where we're actually building stations, but it's going to do nothing for the wider regions. It's going
let me put that point.
So
I was in Seville last year. Actually, he's absolutely right. It's all. Hang on, Joe. He's absolutely right. It's all locked up. I mean,
absolutely.
It's a warning sign, is it not?
No, because Spain is going through the worst euro crisis that it's ever been through. You can't look at that.
So
look at Lille. Look at Montpellier.
I
mean, have you actually been to those places? They are absolutely thriving.
But what about all these rail experts who are now saying, hang on a tick, it's not as convincing a case as we thought?
Well, you'll always have people on different sides of an argument. I think but the essence of it is, how do we get real additional capacity without actually a new line? And if we're going to have a new line, let's have a fast one.
Yeah, but I mean, why is it that important to get to Birmingham 25 minutes faster than you do now?
Well, it's not. I didn't say that. That was the point about it. It isn't the trip between London and Birmingham in isolation. It's the trip up to Derby. Yeah. It's the trip going across to the continent, and the question of capacity in the long term.
What about Joe's point? You could just upgrade the present system.
Well, the problem is that even if you upgraded the present system, it's going to reach saturation point within 10 years. Can I say this to Joe with all respect, that I think the single biggest driver behind those who oppose HS2 comes too close to where I live. Now, I understand that, and there needs to be a sensible debate around what you do about that. I face that in my own constituency, because HS2 was going to take out the Jaguar rail terminal. Now, I met with the Secretary of State for Transport. We worked with HS2. They've rerouted so that danger has now passed. Now, I don't mean this with any disrespect when I say it, is that we've got to get it right in terms of where the route goes. But what we can't have is, Joe, a narrow self-interest getting in the way of what is in the national interest.
He deserves the right to reply to that. Is that true, Joe?
No, it's not a narrow self-interest. People who actually read the case and understand it. What you have is, on the other side, you have a vested interest promoting this. You have people who will benefit from this, who are, creating reports that make it look like it's a good idea. It's quite simple. That you look at what the rail experts are saying now, and they say you can deliver the capacity on the existing lines by spending a lot less and doing it a lot quicker. And this is simply going to cost the country, masses of money. 10 billion quid was added to the bill.
What about
a fortnight ago, and MPs didn't even blink about it.
What about Jack's point?
Unpayable national debt.
What about Jack's point? This campaign. What about Jack's point? This campaign, understandably, is being driven by people whose homes are affected, and one can see why.
Well, that's what got people to read the documents in the first place, and that's why we understand that there is no business case. We understand that there is no environmental case, because the evidence shows that the entire case for HS2 has been cooked. And I suggest that Jack actually bothers to read the documents and understand them, like his colleague Barry Shearman.
OK, he says he has. Your response, Heather, to what Joe's just been saying?
I think it's really sad. I think it. I don't care whether we call it an iconic project or what, but we need to get into the 21st century. We are lagging behind. We have not done this for 100 years. It's incredibly important that we bring our connectivity up with the rest of Europe.
I'm going to say to you, John, in the economic times in which we live, is it an economic priority? You know, when the NHS is facing a massive £1 billion, it'll never be the right time.
One of the arguments in terms of creating demand, creating economic activity, is to have more capital projects. Projects that don't add to your structural deficit, but create demand and create activity. This is exactly that sort of project, even though it's not going to happen immediately.
You don't think that in 15 years' time or 20 years' time someone will be sitting here saying, oh, I regret that, I regret that?
I don't think so in the long term, no. But again, I'm not a blank cheque person. I think there comes a point it can get too expensive.
Time, the story of our life is that we always plan for now and next year. It's about time we thought 5 and 10 and 15 years ahead.
Leave it there. Thanks to Joe in Birmingham, thanks to you three.